Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today is a pretty active video. I'm super excited to cover everything in this video because we are having some lack of activity on the west coast and we are having some activity on the east coast and a lot near the Peru-Chile trench. So we want to really discuss this today, and maybe we can cover some other things, but first, I want to talk about this earthquake 2.3 near Coopertown, PA, not too far from Youngstown and Oil City, PA. Youngstown's in Ohio, but Oil City's in PA. You don't really see a lot of activity up here. This was 6.1 miles deep, but you don't really see this a lot, especially this large, up towards 2.3. It looks like only one person felt it, but there's still a lot of activity. Not a lot of activity, but there's still activity up here in Upper PA. Not close to where I live, but it's still pretty far up here. And it is something to keep an eye on because, Pennsylvania does see that scattered activity. But you do have that Ramapo fault over here. And we haven't really seen any more activity after that 1.0 and 1.3. And there's also a 1.3 up here in Connecticut. Oklahoma has seen a tidbit of activity here. Looks like 1.6 near Prague, Oklahoma, and a 0.5 near Bridge Creek. So, a little bit in this general area. Still, I don't know why it doesn't save it. Oh, yeah, I didn't mean satellite terrain. Still not on that fault there. Still not on that Mears fault, though, anything, for a long time. Now over here, downtown in Texas, 1.7 near Falls City, 2.2. Looks like a big 3.7 up here in the oil fields, 2.6. Generally, a lot of activity up here. Still nothing in New Mexico or Colorado. Utah has a little bit of lack on activity here, but looks like in the hurricane fault zone, Cedar City, there was a 3.1 Canaveral, I think I'm saying it right, Utah, 3.1, about 8 miles deep. Haven't seen an earthquake on this fault in a while, but it was right off that fault, so yeah. Still, this is the lack of activity that we were talking about. Nothing really right here besides this 3.1. It's not concerning, but it's also interesting because there hasn't been anything here on all these, and you want some activity, constant activity in this section, just to give you a reassurance of earthquakes. We're moving along pretty quickly here because there's not really a lot. Looks like a negative 0.5 in Indian Springs, and that's it. Nothing else. I don't know if it's just because I haven't done it in one day or not, but I might be missing out on some things, but I'm only doing the orange ones that are posted right now. A bit of activity down here towards Puebla, 1.5. Looks like some activity up here towards the Centinela Fault, 2.2 near Progreso, and a 1.9 on the Eleanor Fault near Zoctillo. 2.1 near Tijuana, Baja California. There was a small microquake here the other day. In this section, looks like 3.5 miles deep on the 13th. Nothing major, of course, and there really hasn't been much activity in the San Diego area, which is good. I mean, we saw this 1.4. Anyways, 0.9 in Salton City after that little bit of a storm the other day that we saw. A little bit of storming up here in Borrego Springs. Looks like a couple microquakes. You can look at yourself. Some generalized activity up here towards Borrego Springs. Anza. 1.0 near Trabuco Canyon. 1.5 near Westminster. 1.3 near Anaheim. And a 0.9 near La Mirada. And 1.0 near Glen Avon. But nothing on this San Andreas section here, on the Coachella section. Haven't really seen anything particular. There was a 3.3 near Searles Valley, and 1.4 aftershock here the other day. And there was a 1.7 and 1.1 up here. But that is down in that Little Lake fault zone down there, which is usually it can produce bigger earthquakes. Now there was a 1.2, a 1.2, and a 1.5 here. It looks like it's for Betty. 1.2. It says it's near Betty, but that's the closest to it. But yeah, nothing really else there particular. There was a 1.6 near San Simon, and it looks like near the San Andreas fault creeping section there was a 1.8 near San Ardo on that creeping section, which goes pretty much all the way up here. It does look like on the Calaveras fault zone there was a 3.0, so some activity up here on this fault, which comes out of the San Andreas a little bit over here. It parts in, and pretty close to it is the Hayward fault. 1.2 near Angwin up here. Just came in. 2.4 near Gabbs, Nevada. Just came in. So I take back what I said. There's some activity up here. A little bit of towards the Clear Lake volcano field and the hydro. I think it's hydro something or other. There's a bit of activity up here that we've seen. A couple microquakes. Nothing big to worry about. In the Cascadia subduction zone, there's 1.9. That concludes it. Nothing in Oregon. A 2.7 near Redmond. And a 1.3 near Mount Vernon in Washington. So a little bit of activity here. Oh, and I also forgot to say it turned yellow, but there was a 2.3 in Thurso, Canada. But what we really want to cover is actually the uptick in earthquakes on the Castle Mountain fault here. And this is a pretty thick fault here, Castle Mountain fault. And the Susitna section is a fault here that extends from Wasilla down, and there's the Beluga River anticline folds here. But we did see a 3.3 and a 3.0 downwards here. So you're seeing that migration and activity. And we're still seeing the 2.0, but it's really that uptick on the Castle Mountain fault that we've been seeing. And there was some uptick in activity down here, 2.6, 2.0. But that is just some activity there that we've seen. And there was a couple microquakes as well. But after that, really nothing downwards. The Alatuian Trench had a 4.1 and a 4.8. And then it looks like there was a 4.5 and a 4.5 in Japan. It looks like on the Japan Trench, it probably was. And then downwards on the Mariana Trench, there's a 4.8 near Pagan region, which, again, we saw that uptick in activity a couple days ago, but that kind of settled down. So these three might be a little sign of some more activity. On the Java Trench, there was a 4.8. And I think there was a couple other ones, they turned yellow, but there's a couple other ones the other day. 4.9 on whatever this small plate is. I don't know what it's called, but that is not really an active one. Downwards on the big South Solomon, well, actually it's the North New Hebrides Trench. There was a 4.6 and a 4.6. And then a very deep quake, 307 miles of 5.1 of 4.4, 352 miles, 5.2 on the Tonga Trench. And there was a 4.4 in Stratford, New Zealand, which usually doesn't have a lot of earthquakes. And then there was a 6.0 near the Macquarie Island, down here, very close to Antarctica. You don't really see it on this part of the ridge, but you can have activity anywhere in the world. It's not rare nowadays. China had a 4.3 near Kashgar, China. And there was a 4.2 and a 4.4 main quake near Awney, Georgia. Not to be confused with the state Georgia. And then there's a 4.3 near Turkey. So, yeah, a little bit of activity here in this section that we've been seeing. What we really want to talk about, this is what I'm actually going to label the video as, is a 6.0 earthquake in Peru. Now, there hasn't been a lot of people that felt this earthquake, but this is on the Peru-Chile Trench, and if you're an OG, you'll probably remember the biggest earthquake ever happened in, I think, lowerly down here in Chile. So, we've been seeing this small uptick in activity through the past few days in Peru, and we've also been seeing it all the way down here. Maybe it's a sign of something bigger to come, but this Peru-Chile Trench just produced a 6.0 earthquake, only 12 miles deep. So, yeah. There's a 4.2 in Argentina, and a 4.1 and a 4.4 in Chile, and a 4.4 in Ecuador. For the first time in a long time, actually, we had an earthquake in Ecuador. And with this 6.0, actually, it was supposedly not that bad, actually. It was reviewed by a seismologist, but it wasn't, because it was right on that coastline, it looks like. Only 15 people felt it. Shocking for a little earthquake, or a bigger earthquake. Sorry, I don't know why I said little. The Puerto Rico Trench, looks like there's been a little bit of activity up here. 3.1 and 3.0, pretty close to San Juan. But only 4 earthquakes down here, normal ones. But yeah, that's been pretty much it. We had a quicker update today. There'll probably be the biggest earthquake in the world when I finish this video. But as of recording, that 6.0 is probably the biggest earthquake we've seen on USGS in a while. And it's probably one of the biggest that Peru has seen. Peru has seen in quite some time. Because it's usually that happens in Chile. If we go back, here it's in this one. If we go back 30 days, you'll see a lot on this Middle America Trench right here. And you'll see a lot of earthquakes here on this trench, the Peru-Chile Trench. There was so much earthquakes. But if we go to the past 7 days, there's barely been anything. And so this quick uptick in activity suddenly gets really big 6.0 earthquake. And it goes like from silent 4.4 in Ecuador all the way up this Peru-Chile Trench, which it starts in Panama, and it goes all the way down through the Drake Passage and all that. It like ends right here, I think. And the Chile Rise, I think, did see, we go back 30 days. Yeah, there was some activity on the Chile Rise here. Still, just something to watch. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I probably will when I rewatch this, but it's kind of cringe if I rewatch it. But yeah, this is what we've been seeing for the past few days. It's just life now. You've got to live with earthquakes, and there's nothing you can do about it. Earthquakes are something you simply have to live with for the rest of your life until this world ends. And honestly, earthquakes can happen anywhere. Don't think just because you live in Canada. I mean, literally, just because you think you live in Canada, look, we've had a 4.2 and we had a 2.3. And we've had way more than that. We also had a 1.8 near Tofino, but we also had that one, a couple others. I mean, if we go back 30 days to Canada, there was that 3.2, and all these up here towards Inuvik. Again, it's a more common region because of these smaller faults up here, but it's a more common region as well from these faults here, the Denali Fault, which is the Dalton section. Still, just because you live in Canada doesn't mean that you're not prone to earthquakes. Just because you live in PA doesn't mean you're not prone to earthquakes. Literally can happen anywhere. So I just wanted to warn you guys that when you move to a new state, because you may have a lot of earthquakes, the safest states, let me tell you, in my opinion, the safest states will be South and North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Indiana, Michigan, and Canada. Though, well, that's not a state, but Canada still. These places are so safe because they don't have lots of fault lines, and they're not really prone to earthquakes because generally you don't see them there. But if you live in Wyoming, Montana, South Dakota saw one, but they don't get a lot. Even Maryland has them, but they're not that prone to them. So if you move to West Virginia, Maryland, that's not on my list. So the ones that I just said are the safest states. But thank you guys so much for watching. I got confuddled again. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.